Welcome to the Financial Doctor Show.
Assalamualaikum and a very, very good evening. Welcome to the Financial Doctor Show. I'm Nick, your financial doctor. Tonight I have with me Mr. Steve Young, the founder of MyPF, as well as a licensed financial planner, to talk about our topic, interesting topic tonight, changing your retirement life. Hi, Steve. Welcome
Hey
to the
Nick,
Financial Doctor Show.
thanks for having me. Totally excited to be here
My
talk about this
pleasure too.
exciting topic. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Steve. Basically, the reason why we have the Financial Doctor Show, number one, we would like to create awareness among Malaysians about the services of a licensed financial planner, as well as a full financial planning. So tonight's topic is very apt. Retirement life or retirement funding is part and parcel, or in fact, it's one of the biggest things that in anyone's life when it comes to financial planning. So we're gonna hear more about it from Mr. Steve tonight. But before that, Steve, let's take 1 minute to share our show to our personal FB page. Okay, just take 1 minute to do that. Share. All right. Okay. All right.
All right, and if anyone's watching, yeah, feel free to say hi to us. We'll be
Yes.
happy to talk to you guys. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Steve, for spending your Friday night with us tonight. Okay, to talk about the changing your retirement mindset. Okay, so before we go ahead, Steve, can you please share a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself, Steve.
Sure. Stephen, friends call me Steve as well. So I'm a licensed financial planner and also the chief knowledge officer at Wealth Vantage Advisory. Some of you may also know me as the founder of mypf.my, one of the leading personal finance education sites in Malaysia. I practice in financial planning, and one of the key things that I work with is on retirement planning, which is one of the key things today. Or for all those you folks who think retirement is something that's just so far away, you could view it as financial independence or financial freedom. And interestingly as well, Nick, recently I've been actually having clients calling
Mm-hmm.
up, or people calling up asking not about their own retirement but asking about their retirement for their parents actually. So they are actually now children, kids, worried about the parents retirement, and thinking, hey, I actually need a financial
See,
planner to come and help with my parents retirement
I
planning.
see. I suppose because I was talking about this topic on sandwich generation. So what you have just mentioned just now, kids talking about their parents' retirement, probably they are also going to start their own family soon. So they also will have to think of their own retirement. So what would be the impact of that? Three generations. Okay. Wow. Cool. All right. Basically, Mr. Steve being the founder of MyPF, I'm sure
Just
you,
call me Steve. Yeah,
yeah,
let's make it a
Steve.
little bit more casual. Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna call you Steve, but I'm just telling my audience, Mr. Steve is the founder of MyPF. So he would have a number of experience dealing with retirement cases. So that's why I feel it's a very right person for me to speak tonight to relate about the changes in retirement. Okay, what are the things with retirement nowadays? How people look at retirement nowadays, right? Like me personally, from those days when I was working salaried, so look forward to 55 or 60 to retire and do nothing, stay at home. But now, me on my own, I have a different view of retirement, right? So I would like to talk about that later with you, Steve. But before that, come, my audience, maybe they would like to know more about Mr. Steve. Okay, then what's your passion in work or in the industry, Steve?
Sure. So I think we all evolve a little bit. Nick, you were just talking about yourself evolving how you looked at retirement as well. Even then, when I started, I was a salary man as well, and
Mm.
when all those years, I always thought I would be, in Cantonese they call it a takong zai, just be a salary man, work for someone, invest a little bit on the side.
Akong Chan.
Takong zai, yeah,
Okay, all
basically
right. Salary man.
a
Okay.
salary man, yeah. And
Uh-huh.
basically at the end of the day, just invest and hopefully have enough to retire comfortably. But life took a different change actually, and
Mm-hmm.
what I ended up is really finding a vocation, living the comforts of very stable, high salary, managing a few hundred employees, into building something on my own as an independent financial advisor. But that passion has still been there. It's always been about financial planning. It's always been about investing. So really in work, my biggest passions will be on overall holistic financial planning itself, as well as that process of actually investing and seeing wealth just continue to grow.
I guess what you mentioned just now, your passion in investment, in investing, all right, and you would like to share that passion with everyone. That makes you look into holistic view instead of just from one angle of investing. So is that what I'm hearing just now?
Correct. And just to throw a story as well. I know I look relatively young.
Okay.
Nothing pointed at you, Nick.
I think we're
Uh,
same age. I think we are the same age.
definitely. All right.
Okay.
But
Yes, continue your story.
I've actually been investing for more than 2 decades actually. So I actually started
Wow.
investing in my early teens. Actually, I remember when I started, I was actually too young. So thankfully my dad was okay for me opening a joint account with him, and I started out actually way back in my early teens actually. So started with back then unit trusts were considered really new actually, even in Malaysia back then. So starting unit trust before moving into shares, before getting exposure into ETFs, into property. Then later on came things like crypto, etc. So now it's probably easier to ask what I don't invest in rather than what I invest in. But all
Okay.
these things we talk about investing, which is a passion, but
Mm,
it must really have a purpose. There's no point in doing something,
mm.
if there's no end game, if there's no goal at the end of the day. And for many of us, retirement, or you want to call it financial independence, that can be a goal for, well, just about all of us, I would say. So we all have different goals. We all may say it differently, but I think at the end of the day, all of us, we just want to make sure that our loved ones are comfortable at the end of the day.
You sound really passionate. Hi, John. Okay, selamat petang, Nick and Steve. Hello. All right.
Hey, yes.
Steve, apart from your work, what is your hobby, Steve?
Well, I try to keep a good balance. So yeah, I like working out, I like reading, writing. So yeah, quite a good mix. Now I have a 2 year old as well. So yeah, just
I
enjoy
see.
spending time with my 2 year old and my better half.
Fantastic. What's your current read?
My current read that I was actually looking at, I'm actually rereading again
Wow, fantastic. Must be a good
Intelligent
book.
Investor. More of it's a hard book actually.
Oh,
If
okay.
you've heard of it, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's intelligent investor.
yeah.
Ah,
So Benjamin Graham, Ben Graham,
okay.
many would attribute him to kind of being like the mentor for Warren Buffett. Yeah. So
Oh,
things change a lot. Not all of it's applicable to today, but there's still very good lessons that can be learned through that as well.
definitely, definitely. I always enjoy talking to someone who loves to read. Okay,
Yeah,
what
just
is
look at your library there.
okay, Steve,
Hmm.
share with me one fun fact about you, Steve.
All right, I think even you don't know this, Nick.
Okay.
That I actually used to. The keyword is past tense. I used to play the piano, and in fact,
Wow.
I actually played the piano under the Cecil the Board's Royal School of Music, the RABRSM, up to
Oh,
grade 8 actually.
wow. I was just about to ask until what grade now. You already mentioned grade 8. Fantastic. Wow. So do you have a piano at home?
Technically, there I haven't touched it in years, if you can imagine.
Okay. But just to share with you also, that's one of the things that I always wanted to do to learn piano. I've just enrolled my daughter for a piano class. I'm still
Great.
contemplating whether I should also join with her. Maybe. Let's see. But
Father
yeah,
and
I would
daughter,
look
yeah.
forward to listening you rendering any good oldies on?
Not gonna happen. Even my wife asked me to play. That's not gonna happen. So, no.
Why not? You forgot your
Well,
notes, is it?
it's another chapter in my life. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Let's move into the chapter that we would like to talk about tonight.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
changing your retirement mindset. Okay, Steve, the first question that I would like to ask you about changing your retirement mindset. Can you define what is retirement mindset? What do you look at it? What do you think about it?
Sure. I think when we look at retirement mindset, let's kind of break it into two parts. The first would be retirement itself. All right. So, the traditional concept of retirement, even saying it, does sound a little bit dull. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Retirement is something like, oh, gonna basi, gonna expire, something set
Mhm.
aside, something that's old. And in fact, the concept of retirement itself is something that's relatively new, because in the past people just worked as long as they could until they no longer could work, basically. So there
Mm.
was no such thing as retirement, although the industrial revolution, etc., might have played a part in actually changing that, where they needed to reduce the workforce. So the other part of it would be the mindset, actually. Yeah. So one of the things that many clients, who come and say that, hey, we're looking at retirement goals, but retirement isn't a goal for me. And the truth is that people who are passionate about what they do, they love what they do, they're actually going to be the ones that end up doing it for the longest, actually. And that really should be the mindset that we have, that
Mm.
when we look at goals, as we look at heading towards financial independence, the key word really is having that choice, having that option, that independence, that if any point of time you decide that you want to fire your boss, you want to do something that doesn't pay, or you can make any decisions that you want in your life without
Mm.
finances being the key consideration. That is actually the key thing that you will want to have. So it's not about ending, it's not about closure, it's about giving you that freedom of choice by having the right retirement mindset.
Okay, I always look at myself like this. Those days when I was like I was telling you just now, when I was earning salary, I thought, okay, I look forward to retiring at 55 or 60, enjoying my APF money, do nothing, things like that. But as I move on and I am now on my own, I also feel that I cannot stay put at home, do nothing. I cannot imagine myself not doing anything at home. Me and my wife not doing anything. You see, day in, day out, month in, month out. I think
Looking at each other, yeah.
we'll get bored
No.
with each other and we'll start fighting. So it is, so I feel that, like what you said just now, to have a choice. Meaning, if now currently I work 5 or 6 days a week, I want to change to 3 days a week. If now I'm working a 12-month year, maybe I want to change to a 9-month year. So what I'm going to do in the next 3 months, I want to travel, I want to do work for charities or things like that. So I feel that this is kind of what I look forward to, because
Mm.
because I've seen, okay, in my family members, my I have grand aunties who already passed on, where their life was very sedentary, staying at home.
Mm.
But I have this one grand auntie, the longest living still. I think she is going to celebrate her, uh, if I'm not mistaken, it's 85. I think she's the same
Wow.
age with Mahadev, if I'm not mistaken. 85, is it? Right? 85 or 95?
I think Mahathir was like 90 plus, 95 probably.
Yeah, 90 plus. She is, she's everywhere. She goes out to meetings, social. She's not working, but the fact that the idea is that she is on the move. All right, she's still cooking. Previously, she can still drive, but now the children limit her driving. But the fact that she goes out for meeting, doesn't matter whatever NGO, whatever that she's go for the meeting, but the whole idea is you are being active. So this is
Yeah.
the choice that you want to have. So yeah, it's very apt when you answer that question. You divide.
If I may, just kind of share two quick excerpts as well. One is actually my own dad, actually. So my
Mm,
dad is actually, he was let me rephrase that. He's a civil engineer. All right. So he retired. Yeah.
uh-huh.
And then, same like most people, want to spend time at home. But within, I think, less than a year, he found that he really needed to do something, actually. So he actually
Yeah.
started a home bakery
Ah,
slash food delivery, which was pretty popular. This was back in Penang. I had filmed out a little bit with the website and some parts of it. And then after that, he still felt that, hey, he still had a lot of energy to spare, and he actually opened up his own engineering firm actually. And then he
enough
actually
with baking. Okay, go back. I guess once an engineer, forever an engineer. Okay, enough with baking. I want to go back to engineering. Okay, so
yeah.
what happened to his engineering firm now?
Yeah. So
Still
he's
working.
still working and running.
Wow,
It does provide a little bit of additional income as well. And but the main thing really is just keeping busy and active as well. And
correct.
recently I was talking to another client as well.
Uh-huh.
We were planning for her retirement. She's in her
Mm-hmm.
50s. Both her and her hubby are looking to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. So post COVID, so they finally took a little bit of time off to travel with borders reopening and all that, and they booked a 1 week vacation, a vacay by the beach. So
Nice.
wow, lovely, drinks in hand, just relaxing, chilling, nothing to do. After the fourth day, she got
Uh-huh.
totally bored out of her mind actually. I couldn't wait to get back to work actually. And so
Uh,
she asked me, hey, is this what's retirement going to be like? But deep down she knew that that's not the kind of retirement that she wants. I know,
exactly.
media we're bombarded by images of a deck chair by the beach,
Correct.
sipping coconut
Correct.
or margarita or something, or
Yeah.
at home. But that's not how retirement has to be actually. It's still about being active. Again, it's back to having that freedom of choice, where you can determine your hours, what you want to do. Even myself, I'm actually looking at to retire within the next 10 years actually. Now all my financial planning clients, don't get worried. It's not like I'm going to drop you cold at the end of the year period. But it's more of I'm going to be really selective in my clientele, those that will be with me. I'm going to continue servicing on, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to actively seek out new clients actually. So I'm going to focus a lot more on family, faith, and other areas. But at the same time, I'm going to continue being on that journey with my long time clients towards their retirement goals.
I like your sharing, Steve, because these are the conversations that you need to have, all right, early so that you can prepare yourself well. Because the idea the idea of retiring, you stop work, doing nothing has been there. And we have been actually indoctrinated somehow that, okay, what,
I
when,
blame the news and media. Yeah.
exactly. So we felt that, okay, when 55, you see, we take our EPF money. If you have EPF, then you can just go back to kampong, you see, or spend a laid back life, right? But as we go on, we start to see that, can you really live a laid back life when you are so used to living a fast life? Maybe, maybe yes, maybe not, but you would want to have a choice. Like what you have shared just now, your client who went for a vacay, all right, then after 4 or 5 days, eh, I get bored. This is how is it going to be like day in, day out. You see? So these are the conversations that you can start to foresee whether really yourself can really stay home, do nothing like that. Okay, so let's look at the second question. What are some of the biggest concern when it comes to preparing for retirement among Malaysians?
Sure. I guess the part about whether is there sufficiency, that really is the key question, and that's one of the biggest questions that I get as well. So in general, I think for many Malaysians, very hardworking. They save, they put in long hours, they do whatever they can, for their family, loved ones, and also to make sure that during their golden years they will have enough. But the question is that in our schools, financial literacy, financial education is not being taught. We are not taught, hey, you know, how much do we actually need for retirement? What's the impact of inflation on our needs? And expenses don't really go down that much. Actually, it's not like okay,
Never
you
go down. Never
mentioned.
go down.
All right, it may not go down. That is possible, but for most folks, it might go down like, hey, 10-20% of what you used to while you were previously working. So yeah, hey, maybe you don't need to buy new clothes that often anymore. You save maybe a little bit on your commute to work, but other expenses are there, and other expenses are going to catch up and increase as well. Health related, etc. Those are going to increase as well. And Nick, you also mentioned about depending on EPF funds as well, and I'm sure many of us have heard that even EPF has shared that a lot of EPF members do not have even what would be the minimum basic savings amount that would actually be required. And with the minimum basic savings, you're really talking about just covering basic needs, just enough to survive. And if the majority of Malaysian EPF contributors do not even have enough for that, I would say that is in a pretty dire situation. So then really the onus is on each one of us to plan how much. Well, we need to figure out how much we actually need, and then make sure that we have actually enough during our golden years, actually, because it really breaks my heart hearing news stories like you may have heard, like not dishing those people who work in fast food chains, etc. But there are some people who are forced to work jobs that they actually don't want to be working, yeah, or long hours, or having to work overtime when they are actually like already in their 60s, 70s, just because they actually don't have enough during their golden years. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you talk about the concerns about whether having enough or not, about sufficiency. All right, about how much is needed. They may not know how much is needed. They are not financially savvy to calculate how much, right? And you mentioned about inflation as well as the worriness of EPF account. I think statistic has shown that number of Malaysians has, if I'm not mistaken, less than 50 or 100,000 by the time they retire in their EPF account, and that can only last them about 3 to 5 years. But Steve, I always use this term when I talk to people who are retiring. When you retire, every day is a Sunday. All right. So it means, well, what do you do on Sunday? You normally go out and eat with families, you see. So when you retire, if you are living with your spouse who are also a retiree, chances are just the two of you, the children are out for their work, you see, or living on their own already. Would you really want to cook for the just for the two of you? Chances are you just want to go out and let's just eat out, right? So that is actually in a way you not just talking about food, but the kind of a lifestyle when you every day is a Sunday, you wanted to go and spend time somewhere or do other things or things like that. That means that those are additional expenses, additional spending that you uh, I don't know whether you'll be able to foresee or you can think of. You see, like when I say every day is a Sunday, you always think, okay, what are we going to do this Sunday? So when every day is a Sunday, what are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to do next week? What are we going to, just like your client, after 4 days, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do tomorrow? Right? So I guess
Right.
that would be one of the biggest concern too. Hmm. Okay. So would you agree that emotions influence retirement's mindset?
Most definitely, actually. I think studies do show that there's a strong correlation between our mind, our body, and how wellness in general is related from one aspect to another, from your
Mhm.
mental health to your diet. Even you talked about food a little bit earlier, than to your finances, to everything. It is really all interlinked, actually. So really the psychology part of it is something that's rarely talked about, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, the psychology when it comes to looking about money. And one of the quotes that really stuck to me was quoting from this book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, where it actually says that your experiences of money are probably like 0.000000001% of
Mhm.
what the world experiences, but it forms about 80% of your opinions about money, actually. So how you were brought up, the culture you're in, the experiences you went through, influence a lot, actually, on how you actually perceive money. Yeah. For example, I was recently doing this coaching with clients as well, and she admitted that she had issues, actually, with buying impulsive spending, and after talking through, she actually traced it back. It was because her parents were hoarders actually, so there was always that impulse to accumulate. There was that fear of not having enough or missing something out actually.
Missing out.
So yeah, so there's definitely a strong relation actually with the mind, the psychology part of it, and how it actually influences how we use or even think about money.
I see. I was involved with giving a talk to EPF retiring staff. I think some 1 or 2 years ago. I think twice. I feel that, yeah, I think when you speak to the elderlies, or I wouldn't say elderlies, I mean people who are going, sorry, people who are going into retirement. Yes, I would say uh, it's not fear of missing out, you are fear of how is it going to be like, all right? Maybe it's not just about money. They may have the money, but how is it going to be like? So this is something I feel when we talk about mental health, something that maybe uh, people would like to go and talk to a psychologist or talk to a counselor, all right, that can help you or prepare in terms of what is it going to be like when you retire. I guess from the financial planning perspective, yeah, we can talk about being ready financially. That because if you are not ready, that can lead in. That could be one major thing that can impact you emotionally.
Yeah, I think studies show that money, especially the lack of money, is actually the number one concern actually, and cause of a lot of mental health, a lot of stress issues as well. So
Correct.
definitely.
Correct. Yeah. Uh, okay, so I think nowadays issues of mental health, you have heard how people like suicide, you see, for not having enough money, and say kill the whole family. So I think this is something serious that you would like to speak or reach out to someone to be able to discuss this early, to be able to prepare you and your family when you are going to retire. Okay.
Mm. I would actually describe that as sometimes when you're like in a hole, right?
Mm,
Imagine you're fallen down in a hole, and you look up, and the way out seems impossible. It's like this tiny pin
mm,
prick, or maybe you can't even see the light at all. So by reaching out, that's the important thing actually. By getting professional help that can actually help you out, because it's very difficult to pull yourself out of a hole, but it's so much easier once there's a support system, there's professionals, there are people who actually care and actually want to make a difference actually. And a lot of fear, I think, is sometimes because we how to say, we come to a dead end, jalan buntu. We don't
yeah.
can't think of any solutions. So yeah, when those are there, when we are prepared, when we know what to expect, all of those does help make a lot of a difference, really.
I shared this one tip this evening. I gave a talk to a group of medical practitioners. Um, Even though it's about cash flow management, but I think this is also related to retirement. You see, you can how to foresee what your life is all about. Okay, you draw a line. You take a piece of blank paper, you draw a line, okay? On one end, you write your current age, and on the other end, you write what is your life expectancy, okay? Then you start jotting down, okay? What will happen 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, when you are 55, when you are 60, when you are 70, when you are 80. I always ask this question uh, whether you still have your parents, how old are your parents, or how young are your parents, your great grandparents, just to give an idea of your life expectancy. So once you have jotted down, you see, along the line, from you today until the end of your life expectancy, you'll be able to see what are the things that is going to happen in your life. You'll be able to see what are the things that you want to happen in your life. What are the things that how you want to spend your retirement? If you say you want to spend your retirement traveling, what sort of traveling? Which country? How do you want to travel? First class, business class, economy class? What hotel you want to stay? What do you want to experience? You have to jot it down so that you'll be able to envisage how is it going to be like. And then you look at what you have, whether currently your money is working towards that or working towards you achieving of what you like, what you want. So that will give you an idea that, hey, you can start thinking about it now. You can start planning about it now. So I feel that will, because when you know, so you reduce the anxiety.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you do not know, and you also do not know what you do not know. When
So
you
double
start to write
blind
it
there. Yeah.
down and jot it down, at least you have an idea. And then, oh, okay, I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to someone who can help me with my financial planning. Or maybe I need to talk to someone who can talk about retirement. Maybe I need to talk to a psychologist so that I can prepare myself. So, but these are the things when you are aware, when you have the information, when you write it down, at least you are able to breathe in, breathe out. Oh, okay, I can do this, break it down to a smaller 5 years, 10 years,
One
things like
one
that.
thing as well is also the realization. A lot of people don't realize it until after they're retired. That hey, your retirement years aren't necessarily very short. Actually, imagine we talk about life expectancy. So average life expectancy in Malaysia: female 79, male 74. If you want to be conservative, hey, you might do 80, 85. Or even longer. If you have longevity risk, your great grandparents, everyone lives past 100. But let's say you retire at the average retirement age in Malaysia, 55 to 60. Hey, you're still looking at, about the third of your life actually still during your retirement years. That's actually a pretty long period of time.
Correct, correct. All right, to my listeners out there, if you have any question that you would like to ask Mr. Steve about changing your retirement mindset, please ask. Put a note in our chat, and we are ready here to answer your questions.
And if you
From
find it beneficial, yeah, do go ahead
yeah,
and share the show with your family and friends so
we
you can reach more
we
people
had
as well.
a question, Steve, from our Facebook posting. Kyra, can you post that question? Okay, Saida asked, how does retirement plan link to Malaysian age society by 2044 with 40% of the population from 65 years old and above? Maybe the first one you want to answer?
Sure. So, like many countries, we are facing an aging population as well. Nearest, I think the one that comes to most people's mind would be like Japan, where the population is aging. If you're asking about what can be done, well, hey, first thing is have more kids. We have more children that will help reduce the average age. That will help to make sure that aging population isn't there. But half jokingly aside, it is being prepared for that as well. So certain things as a society, of course, will be widening of social nets, even EPF contributions. Like for example, many I think are aware that you can also self contribute to EPF as well, 60,000 ringgit a year. But EPF is also realizing that they may not be actually sufficient as well. So actually, one of their chief officers at EPF actually did share that EPF is actually planning to actually increase actually the amount that you can actually make in this voluntary contribution from EPF above the current 60,000 that is currently available as well. So that will be one of the ways. Of course, the rest of it, the onus will be on how do we look at things. So, for example, even in things like touching a bit about things like risk management, etc. So, one thing Malaysia doesn't have, despite our wonderful public healthcare system, is we actually don't have long-term health insurance. Actually, that's
Yeah,
a spot that's actually
true.
very lacking in risk management in Malaysia. So that means that you need to actually have a sinking fund or self-plan out that portion actually in older years where I'm sure we've heard with older folks that even a simple fall can be something that can have significant consequences both on health and finances too.
Yeah, that's an interesting point when you relate into healthcare. But before I dwell into that further, I would like to connect this to what you have mentioned earlier when you said your clients was worried about their parents' retirement. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is, okay, you see, sandwich generation is something common in Asian families. All right, so as we approach to aging nations, all right, so we will be facing that people at the age of 40 or 50s having parents at the age of 60s, 70s, which they need to care for, and they are also having their growing children too. Okay, so when we look at retirement, we cannot run away from issues that is actually around our life. That is, yeah, one is sandwich generation. So when you are retired, probably you are also having your retired parents that you need to care for, and you still have children like just getting into college. All right. So this is one of the things which, if we were to prepare earlier, at least we will be able to foresee what is coming. Right. So most of the time, also when people retire, that's a time when their children also get married, right? So you have to ask yourself, which I always ask my client, are you the kind of parents who will pay for your children's wedding? Some of them will say, I've already paid for their education, so let them find their own money for their wedding. But seriously, I mean, you have got to ask this yourself, this question seriously, meaning, really, if you don't want to pay, yes, then you have got to decide so from the beginning, not during when the time comes. You are more excited than your children who are getting married. There, that is when, okay lah, will use some of my account to money, or will use, since I just retire, I just take out my EPF money. I just use. So these are the things which seriously you have got to think ahead and make a decision.
I totally agree, Nick. Those are questions, difficult questions nonetheless, but questions that you really need to, start thinking of early. Nick, you mentioned, your own retirement planning, your parents actually retirement, your children's probably tertiary education, maybe their wedding planning and all that. And so you really need to actually set which of these are your priorities. And I would actually put it to you that the first priority actually needs to be your own retirement planning actually, yeah, because you don't want it to be the sense that because you don't plan out your retirement planning that you actually end up being a burden, to your family, to your children, your loved ones, etc. It doesn't mean you don't love your children or your parents, but they do have options as well. For example, children, hey, if you really can't fund their overseas education, which is probably, if you're doing overseas, 18 years from now, half a million today, it's probably going to be like 1.5 million or more in 18 years time. And if you don't have the means for that, they can always do it locally. There's also options for public universities, education loans as well. Yeah. So again, there's more options. So it's really important to have your priorities as well. And this just reminded me of another story as well. So this was also a client, and he's earning pretty well actually. He's a medical doctor, earning a very decent income from his practice. But he was actually finding a little bit of a struggle actually, because he needed to support his parents actually. And the reason why he felt so obligated to do so was because his parents basically spent the entire retirement funding to send him for medical school actually. So basically they spend all their retirement planning, and now, like it or not, he has that burden on him
Yes,
because they have to spend it all. Yeah.
it's
So
repayment.
yeah,
It's
basically, right.
payback. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, yes, not joking, but it's like when you know that your parents has actually spent the whole retirement funding to send you to studies, so the least that you could do is to care for them. But in that, mm, from that angle also, you see your income when you just started work is not that much either. And if you start family soon, that means there become a sandwich generation. Then, yeah, so there'll be a challenge.
Yeah, if possible, of course, you don't want it to be that scenario. And if another analogy helps, it'll be like, you're in a plane,
Mm.
and let's say there's an emergency, and the breathing
Yes,
mask comes down, and you
of
always
course.
remember, right? Yes, the oxygen mask. The first thing that you need to do is not put on a mask on, your child, or your mom, or whoever is there, is to actually put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because you
So
need to make sure you are there breathing. Then you can help those around you.
So that means to parents out there also, don't use your retirement funding money to pay for your children education, to pay for your children's wedding. No. All right. Remember, in the plane, if anything were to happen, you put your mask on yourself first. So I guess that's an important reminder to everyone out there. Okay, Steve, let's talk about financial independence. How do you think financial independence can be part of retirement planning?
Sure. So, I would say that, it can be something that can be used interchangeably. So more and more people are actually looking to be financially independent. Really, this concept isn't really new. So it actually finds its roots actually in the financial independence, retire early movement, or FIRE for short, which started many years ago in the States, and then gradually the awareness among Malaysians is there as well. But more and more people are realizing that, hey, the retiring early part is not necessarily the important part. The more important part really is the financial independence part. So kind of circling back to where we were before. So it's really being able to achieve financial independence, and then at that point of time realizing that, hey, you can choose not to work, you can choose to work anywhere, you can choose to do whatever you want, and until an age where you, hey, decide you finally call it a day, and when finally the beach that you thought was boring finally feels good enough because you find that your energy levels are no longer there, and you really just want to chill and relax, then hey, you can call it a day. But having that choice there in your own hands, and it makes it a little bit easier as well, because if let's say you wanted to be financially independent, retire early, it's not to say impossible, but it does take actually quite a bit of effort and discipline. It means you're talking about saving, investing, at least 40%, more likely 60, 70, maybe 80% of your income. It might involve skipping out most of your wants, just covering basic needs, just to make sure that you have enough during your olden days. But the thing is that only God knows how long each one of us lives. And if you save that hard, you skip all your coffee, you skip all the nice things in life. But then if it all ends suddenly, hey, that may not be worth it. So I would suggest, how about somewhere in between actually, where, hey, you try to save between your EPF, if you're an employee, plus your own savings investments, try to target 40-50% of your income, which still gives you enough disposable income for some nice things to travel, etc. And then when you actually move into that financial independence stage, you can still kind of work, but you no longer need to set aside funds for saving, investing, just enough to cover basically your basic needs, and it makes it so much more achievable to be financially independent, and to basically retire within a nice reasonable time frame.
Yeah, I really like your response to this question, Steve. But I mean, this is something which you really need to reach out and talk to someone who you can have this kind of conversation. Because sometimes we feel that, okay, I'm just going to live a simple life. Okay, then we have to really define what is a simple life. Okay, like what you say, okay, forgo coffee, forgo traveling or whatever. Sure, are you going to
That
live
that
like that?
doesn't sound like a simple life actually. That sounds like quite constrained life, but that's just my
Exactly.
opinion.
Yeah. But these are the things, okay, because different people will have a different needs and different
So
view
true.
on life and how simple life is, okay. But if nothing wrong with having a conversation and see whether it is realistic or not, okay. I will go to the next question after this, which involved with this. But the point which I'm trying to say here is you need to keep talking about this because something that may appear to you, this is what you want, but as you go on life 5 years down the road, why would you want to be so unhappy during your retirement life when now you don't even have time to spend time for yourself, you're working hard. Do you seriously want to spend time like that during your retirement life, doing foregoing so many beautiful things in life, for example? But there are people who are willing to put up with their life currently so that they will be able to enjoy later during their retirement, do everything that they want. Yeah, there's no right or wrong for that, but at the same time also the question is, if you were to come to that retirement life, then you'll be able to enjoy. But if you don't, then all your hard work is gone. I'm not saying we are trying to, the point I'm trying to say is, okay, a balance. So this is where you want to talk to someone so that you'll be able to strike a balance, preparing for your retirement, at the same time also working, at the same time also have a work-life balance.
And
That's
we
what
know, that can be a little bit difficult to picture, can how
mm,
do you prepare for retirement? You've never retired before, right?
yeah.
How can you imagine how that's gonna be like? Well, I guess, if you're overseas, then there are some advantages. Like in certain countries, you get to take sabbaticals after a number of years of working, so you kind of get the experience, how that experience is like. And sometimes it is a lot different from how we think it is. Just to give another example, so I was talking to a client today about being a property owner. Yeah, and it was her first property. She was looking to, excited about, renting it out. But we talked about it as well, and there is a possibility that for a lot of people, once they actually have a rental property and they rent it out, and then they realize, hey, I don't like being a property landlord. Actually, there's the issues, tenants damaging the place,
Yeah,
having to fix it up,
you
etc.
cannot
You
take
know,
it.
that's just a property. What more if it's something larger, like your own
Exactly.
retirement, actually? Yeah. So
True.
since there's no sabbatical here, if your organization doesn't offer that, then you might want to find ways to actually test it out. Actually, take a longer leave. That means longer than 3 days. Maybe a few weeks, in a couple months to actually
Longer leave with
experience,
no pay.
possibly with no pay. Yeah, you need to figure out your finances for that. Yeah, but again, test it out, pilot it out. Test out the assumptions that you think is gonna be like. Before you actually finally pull the trigger. Yeah, that's so important.
Steve, the next question related to financial independence. What if one planned to balik kampung to retire?
Right. All
Here
right.
this for some people, I want to retire and balik kampung, spend my life in the kampung, more peaceful, things are cheaper. What do you think
Sure.
of this idea?
It can be a choice, actually. So among the factors that would determine your expenses would actually be COL, cost of living. Are you living in a high cost of living area, or if you're really talking about kampong in a low cost of living area? It does make a significant difference as well. So for example, my aunt actually lives, I'm actually originally from Penang, and my aunt lives really in the kampong, actually, on Penang mainland. And going there, it's really, you still see the paddy fields, you still see the buffaloes, the cows
Hmm.
around, and it's really quiet, really really peaceful. And hey, some people love the environment there. I don't think I could actually live that sort of lifestyle. I'm good for a few days, maybe the probable 3-4 days, but anything more than that, yeah, I'll start pulling
Yeah.
my hair out as well. So if it is the choice that you're making to balik kampong because hey, you love it there, it has things that you really wanted, and hey, by all means go for it. But it shouldn't be in the case that hey, you're going to so-called balik kampong just because you don't have enough for your retirement, that you're trying to cut costs, uh, grow your own vegetables, having lower costs of living. If it's something that's forced on you, I would suggest that why not make a different choice, actually, that hey, instead of looking to cut expenses, either now or during your retirement, why don't you look at expanding your pie? Why don't you look at increasing your income, whether that's an active income or a passive income through investments, to hey, we only have one life here, so yeah, make the most of it.
I guess the conversation that you will have is so that you have a choice. If really you want to balik kampung, yes, it's a choice that you make. But if you want to revert back, coming back to the town after that because you don't think that you can live a kampung life, like what you just mentioned just now, yes, you have the choice to come back. But like what I said, if you don't plan, all right, if you had to, forced to, because you want to go for a lower cost of living, maybe that's not where you want to go. So having a conversation earlier, reaching out, speaking to someone who can help you with your retirement funding, your retirement planning is something which I feel that everyone should talk about it. Okay, let's go to the next question. Is retirement an ultimatum or it can be a choice? I think we have
It can
spoken
be
about this
either,
quite a bit.
actually. Yeah, retirement being an ultimatum or a choice. Sometimes in life, we're all dealt, a deck of cards, how life is going to be. And sometimes unexpected things do happen at unexpected times as well. So, if it's something that's, kind of trust upon you and you don't have a choice, then it's more of, hey, if life gives you, lemons, then you make lemonade
Yeah.
with it, right? Yeah. So then you make the best of the circumstances that you have. But as long as there were opportunities for you to make a choice, if something that you can do about it, then you actually should. Or another way of putting it, I would say is that if there are things that are outside of your scope of control, that's not within your control at all, then hey, you shouldn't even be thinking or worrying about it. But the things that you can control, that you can make a choice on, that is actually where you should be focusing your time and energy on.
I see. So I guess at the end of the day, it's also a choice whether you want to call it an ultimatum or if you want to have a choice. It's something that you can choose to decide now, right? Because when the time comes, you may not have much choices. But if you decide now and talk about it, reach out, you may have a few choices, whether
Yeah.
to make it an ultimatum or to make it like what I said, you see, work 3 days a week or do some other things like that.
Yeah,
Mm.
I generally wouldn't say it's ever too late, but being realistic, for most folks, say, hey, you've done nothing at all, towards view of retirement or financial independence. If you have at least 10 years to go, if you have the a 10-year time span, that can actually make a big, huge, immense difference. Actually, even if you start today, as the saying goes, the best time is 20 years ago. The next best time really is today.
Today. True, true. Yeah, I agree. So, yes, listeners out there, if you have not done anything, yeah, Steve just mentioned, 20 years ago or tomorrow or today, I think better start today, right? To do something with regards to your retirement planning. And like what I've said earlier, it has got to be holistically, so that you see what are the things that is going to happen in your life along with your retirement. Okay, so our last question for tonight, Steve. How can a licensed financial planner help you in this process?
Right. So just to define, so a licensed financial planner, what you should be looking for is finding a financial planner that basically meets your needs or what you actually want. You need to have actually a good vibe, good conversation with your financial planner. Ideally, you want to be within 5 to 10 years range of your financial planner, so that helps to eliminate the generational gap as well. With the experiences that you go through, and that's much easier to relate as well. So how your financial planner can come in is to actually help you to do one key thing, which is scenario planning. Actually, looking at where you are today, going in, picturing, not to be morbid, but just having the end in mind. Actually, how do you picture things to be like, at your at your final day, and basically then to help you plan out that journey from now where you are towards the final day itself. It also includes, we talked about having that priorities, but it doesn't mean that you don't want to prioritize your parents,
Yeah.
especially if they're dependent on you, your children, etc. And if you want to throw, a massive wedding, 1,000 tables for your children, and you can afford it, by all means. So it's ideally you want to first hit your retirement goal, your financial independence goal. At the same time, you want to hit your children's education goal, planning for your care for your parents, wedding, or any other goals or priorities that you have. So a financial planner isn't there to kind of boss you around or tell you what to do. It's not about trying to force you to budget or asking you to drink less coffee or anything of that sort. But basically giving you what are the pros and cons, what are the trade-offs, what are the hard numbers, and also the soft things, actually what is actually needed to actually get there. And because we have this experience every day, we spend talking to various people about finances, actually we can give you a more holistic perspective when it actually comes to finances, what others' experiences are, what are the some of the common pitfalls or things that you might want to look at. And then it's really valuable to see that, hey, if every year you can see that you are actually heading towards the goal of where you are going to be, or maybe you're already very near your retirement, and you think you have enough but you're not sure. Just having a financial planner to talk through can actually give you that confidence. Or for example, I had a client actually that wanted to retire but wasn't sure whether he could or not. And after going through, he actually was financially independent, and retired the very next year, actually, because after planning he had more than enough, actually. And yeah, he was so much happier after that as well, spending time with loved ones.
I guess there you go. What a licensed financial planner can help you when it comes to planning your retirement. So I just repeat the tips that I gave earlier. Draw a line on a blank piece of paper, your age today and your life expectancy. So jot down your retirement age 55 or 60. What do you want to do? How do you want to spend your retirement life, like holidaying, traveling, or balik kampung, whatever it is, write it down in full and explore further. Okay, how is it going to be like, or things like that. So it will give you an idea, and then talk to someone who can look into from financial perspective, and maybe look into your life priorities, and remind you, hey, you also have other things that you need to look into, such as, okay, your health protection, whether you have enough or not. What else? If you have not done, for Muslims, if you have not done your Hajj, okay, which funding are you going to take, or things like that. So I guess these are the things which you will have a conversation with a licensed financial planner to see things holistically and be able to make an informed decision. All right. So thank you, Steve. If there's any question from listeners out there, if there's no question, I would like to share with you. Oh, yeah, we have a question. Remember, your children can get financing for their education, but parents cannot get financing for their retirement. That's totally true, John. I agree with you fully. This is a very, very good reminder to every parents out there, or to everyone, not just parents, to everyone out there, because one day you will retire. So you have got
That is largely true. The one small caveat, Malaysia did introduce reverse mortgage as well. So there's an asset actually that could actually fund retirement years while still being able to stay in the property during your retirement years. So I think those advancements are really good as well. Yeah, that we're seeing more of this, and a PRS provider recently launched a decumulation fund as well,
I
which
see.
basically helps you to plan out your withdrawals during your retirement years. So I think having more solutions available, alternatives, options are overall beneficial for Malaysians.
So these are the things that you can explore now so that you can plan accordingly for your retirement. All right. So to my listeners out there, if you want to experience talking to a licensed financial planner, don't worry, no strings attached. You can scan the QR code on the screen, right? And yeah, get a chance to talk to us and see how is it like, understand what are the benefits that you can get talking to a licensed financial planner, and how it can help you to achieve your life priorities. Okay, Steve. Uh, Last words for tonight. All right. Yeah. What would you like to say to those out there who would like to prepare or change their mindset with regards to retirement?
Sure. So whether you want to call it retirement or financial independence, it is something that's actually simple, something that's achievable, but not necessarily easy. So all it takes is for you to actually have that commitment and that readiness to say yes and start taking action today.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Very brilliant and apt. All right. So, to my listeners out there, thank you for joining me tonight with Steve Young, founder of MyPF and a licensed financial planner. So, tune another 2 weeks ahead, okay, with more interesting topics that we'll talk in the Financial Doctor Show. So, till then, selamat berhujung minggu and take care. Assalamualaikum and bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Doctor Show.